Welcome to The Journey, a podcast to help you be the very best parent you can be. We are thrilled you are here and that we get to do life together. We are here to serve your family, and we're thankful you're joining us on The Journey.
Today, we're doing a podcast takeover. I am now the host of The Journey podcast, and we're talking to Dan Panetti about being an empty nester. And speaking of being an empty nester, Campbell, come on in. So
we're not really doing this
year, Dan is becoming an empty nester, and the last of his kids to graduate is right here, Campbell Panetti. So we're going to just talk to you about what that's going to be like, how you're feeling, and so we're just doing a little.
Are you going to make me cry?
We're going to cry. We're going to laugh. We're going to do all the things.
Wait, are we going to talk to Campbell?
I have class.
Go to class.
He has class.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
No. Yeah. Camp. Love you. Thank you, bud.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Proud of you.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yes.
I've never done a podcast before,
Well,
here we go.
let's
I got
yeah.
questions. Marketing has approved all of this, and we're just going in big.
Here we go.
You ready?
Here we go.
So how are you feeling about becoming an empty nester?
Actually, well, I mean, I'm feeling great about my last son graduating. How's that?
That's great.
Because really, technically, we're not empty nesters. The two big boys have graduated, living at home. And then Sophie will probably come back home after college. So empty nesting in kind of the old terms of like everybody out of the house, we probably won't be there for a while. But our last one graduating from PCA after 20-something years of being here with kids.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Yes.
As far as I know.
Dan's sticking around. Okay, good. So tell me a little bit about the kids that have when they graduated.
Let's see. Preston was a 18. Parker was a 19.
Okay.
Sophie was a 22, right? 2022. And Campbell will be a 2025.
All right.
I know. It's kind of crazy.
And where's he off to?
Campbell's off to Arkansas, University of Arkansas, which Sophie will be at for her senior year, will be his freshman year, which Parker's senior year was Sophie's freshman year.
I love that.
And actually, I'll just say this. Our kids kind of picked their college based on where family went because they wanted to be close to family.
I love
and
that.
so very, very close to family. Preston was the only one who went to DBU, which was a God thing, opened up that door for that opportunity. But he kind of laughs at that because he's the only one in the family that didn't go to Arkansas altogether. And anyway.
That's right.
Anyway,
God knows where we're supposed to go.
Yeah, exactly. He's all good.
As a graduating parent, what advice would you give to us who still have kids in lower school, middle school, or upper school?
I would say, okay, so you're going to hear this a lot at PCA, right? You're going to hear this concept of a three-legged stool, right? The home, the church, and the school working together. And I would say that is, it's something I really didn't understand because my wife and I, if you know our story, she was a public school teacher, and we are very, very big public school advocates. When we had kids, we were going to change the world by sending our kids to public school. And really, I mean, there was a lot of opportunities, right, for Christians to be salt and light in a very dark place. And it's hard to think about that, right? You think about we're in Plano, and is it really a dark place? It's just understand a lot of the Christian influence has been taken out of the public school system, and so we were excited, right? My wife was a teacher. She saw the opportunity, but being a teacher and being a parent, right, are very different things. And so God opened up an opportunity for us to come to PCA, and we kind of came here kicking and screaming. And I didn't really know how influential the church, the home, and the school all saying the same thing was going to be such a powerful influence in the life of really my family and my kids, right? Like I thought, hey, if we're doing this at home, this is great. We've got this at church, this is great. It doesn't really matter what the school says because when I grew up, right, I grew up in a very a secular, environment at a public school, and we countered, right, what was going on there. But I guess I just didn't really know how awesome it is when what you're saying at home and what the church is teaching and the school is reinforcing, it really kind of sinks into the kids in a way that I'd really never thought of before.
Well, I think the rhetoric can be sometimes, I went to public school and I turned out fine. That was my husband too.
And it is. And there's a part of an importance, right? You think about, a tree that goes through storms, the roots go deeper, right? And that's right. So some people think, and I really had this thought, right? I'll put my kids in a private Christian school and there won't be any adversity to their faith. And that's actually not true, right? The world seeps in everywhere.
Yeah.
And so there's always adversity to their faith in wherever they are. But the reinforcement of their faith is something I really never thought of before, right?
Yeah.
Teachers, coaches, a biblical worldview being woven in, and that worldview component that you don't really think about is such an important thing for the kids to really get. And so they're getting it at home, right? But honestly, and you know this, you've got little kids, there's only so much time we have with them at home, right? And there's only so much time that the church gets, right, every week as well. And so the school gets a large chunk of that time. And so if you're having your kids in a school and that school is not reinforcing what you're teaching at home and at the church, that's a lot of time that is some other worldview is being, pressed into your kids. And at a very young age. I think that's the other thing is now, and I didn't really think about this, but now mainstream media that so much of our kids have attention to has a completely different worldview.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I was just watching the other day, Blue's Clues, right? Had a drag show. And I'm like, Blue's Clues, right?
Yeah.
Like it's for little kids.
Lost
It's
it.
like it's like for pre-kindergarten kids.
Yes.
Right? So you have to really understand that, right? You can have your kids at the best environment, right?
Yeah.
The world is going to try to teach them a different way of seeing the world around them. And so, you've got to be very vigilant.
Yes.
Right. And so being at PCA has been a tremendous blessing for my family in ways that I didn't even know or consider because we had never considered coming to PCA.
Yeah. So you're saying we're all at the right place currently.
If you're teaching values and worldview, right, that's where you need to have your kids.
Yep.
And honestly, one of the things that we're going to talk about as well is a movie, a show. My kids hate it when I call it a movie, right? It's a show on Netflix. It's got 4 episodes, so it's not a movie, Dad.
Exactly.
Right? Thank you. But it's called Adolescence, and it's an examination of kind of parenting in the public school system in England, and it's obviously very different. It's a godless system, right? We're here. There's still a lot of God-esque, right? Even in our culture.
Yes.
But it's very sad because you look at the world that has no hope, and it's a very sad place to be. And I think about this, and it's just like, you know what? Being at PCA, we get to talk about Christ and the hope that comes. And so, if you're here, right, in this environment, you are around it every day.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got kids in lower school
Yes.
chapel. Have you been to a lower school chapel?
Well, if you need to feel joy, go to a lower school chapel.
Yes. And as you get older, I know the kids, it's sort of less cool to take your Bible and go to chapel. But here's the deal. Even when they're in chapel, we're dripping truth on them constantly, right? The Word of God is being opened. The issues of the world are being examined through the lens of Scripture, right? And all the way through for the 15 years, which my kids all went here for 15 years. Because they went, pre-K 3, pre-K 4, pre-K 5, pre-K 6, I think they had, pre-K 7. Whatever. We tried to hold them here as long as we can. Because Campbell, if you just saw Campbell.
13th grade, 14th grade,
right. Well, Campbell's 19. And that was one of the commitments we made as parents, right? We wanted our kids to have as much time at home as possible before we set them out into the world. And so it's been a tremendous blessing for us. You mentioned the concept of empty nesters. I'll say this, as a parent with older adults now, parenting really never stops.
That was actually my next question.
Yeah,
What's the toughest part about there are tough things about having little kids. It's very, energy heavy.
There are challenges and opportunities of every stage. And I think for a parent who thinks like, I finally made it through this stage, you kind of look back at some of the good things and you laugh at some of the tough things. Right? And I think that's one of the great things is each stage has challenges and opportunities. And as you go through those challenges, time is always going to be one of the hard things, right? It's just as the kids get more independent, right, there's more things, though, for you to do, right? And so it's just, parenting.
So you ease into the empty nester type
you
thing.
You ease into, right, the responsibility. But, I mean, my wife will tell you, when kids start driving, the stress level kind of goes up. When I'll say this, when girls go into middle school, there's something different about girls and boys in middle school. For boys, it's okay to go through the awkward years of middle school and somehow it's just being a boy. But for girls, there's a real meanness that comes out and there's a there's a difficulty. And so just from a stress, anxiety, we talk a lot about, right, anxiety and how in the home, right, a lot of the anxiety of parents is kind of passed on to the kids. And so I think that's one of the things is you've just got to realize that when your kids go through those difficult things, you've been there.
Yes.
They'll be okay.
Yeah.
Right? They'll make it through. And honestly, the idea of them being evaluated by other kids their own age, as a parent, that's one of the greatest things that you can do is help them understand it really doesn't matter what kids your own age think of you. Yeah. And I know that's so hard to say. And my wife reminds me that being a girl and a boy are completely different.
Yes, true.
For a boy, there's something okay about being kind of a lone ranger on your own. It doesn't matter what the world thinks of me. And for a girl, they're much more wired for relationship and community.
Yes.
And so some of my parenting with my daughter kind of fell on deaf ears.
Sure.
Like, Dad, you just don't understand. And I really didn't. And so I think that's one of the things about parenting is just there's so much to learn and to grow in. You feel like, each stage has new opportunities for you to really kind of press in and grow. And the great thing is having kids that were boys and girls.
A little bit of everything.
I got to learn a lot. I got to learn a lot more about myself. Right.
Yeah.
And just kind of my tendencies, my desires. Right. It's kind of like, where do I want my kids to go and how do I want my kids to look? And then God gives you 4 kids and they're completely different. And you're wondering if they're being raised in the same home. And you're like, whose parents are these? But it's been so much fun for the journey just to realize how much God has matured me and changed me and helped me grow into the man that I am is because of my wife. And our marriage, and then our kids.
And as you have all these 4 kids have gone through, and as Campbell leaves, what do you think you're going to miss? Not leaves too far. What are you going to miss about PCA, or just you're going to be here, but what are you going to miss about? No, you're not leaving. He's not leaving.
Is there something I don't know?
But just about having a student here. There's a lot of really cool things we do here.
So I will say, and I did not know this when I took the job because none of my kids went here when I started.
Okay.
I think I spent more time with my kids than any other parent could. And it's been kind of weird, right, to think about it, but I was in the same building with all 4 of my kids for a majority of their schooling. One of the things that was really, really special, and Campbell is the one that, Campbell went through a really, really difficult time with allergies, asthma, all these different things. And so when he was young, he missed a lot of school, but he would just stay in my office. So when he wasn't feeling well, right, I had a big chair in my office. He'd take a nap in my office and just kind of
So what you're saying is not much has changed. Campbell spends some time in Dan's office, sometimes.
And your office.
In my office, okay.
Yes, and I have a couch in there, and he every once in a while, as a senior, comes in and takes a nap.
Closes his eyes.
It has been, I think that I will miss that, even though I'll say this, something that was true in my life is my biological parents are not my only parents. So I have spiritual parents in Austin who really stepped in when my biological parents kind of stepped back and went through a difficult time in my life. And so I kind of look at that and just say, you know what? It's amazing when God promised Abraham, right? Hey, you're going to have children as many as the stars in the sky, right? And Abraham can only think of biological children. It's like, oh my God, I don't have any children. What are you talking about, right? I think when God looked at Abraham and said, children are spiritual children, right? There's something different than just physical and biological. They're spiritual. And you see that, right? Jesus, when they said, hey, your mom and your brothers are here. And he's like, hey, who are my mom and my brothers? Anybody who obeys the will of my Father. And I think that concept is like, you know what? I look at the kids that are here that aren't my biological kids because Campbell's my last child here. But there's a lot of other kids here that I kind of look at like, these are my kids, right? These are my sons and daughters. And so we sit down and you do the same thing. We have a lot of conversations with young people about just life. We're just doing life well, and it's been just a blast to be able to do that. And so, I'll miss going to see my kids play, but I will say this: watching other kids perform and play and do things like that is like less stressful.
Way less stressful.
Right?
Way less stressful.
Right? When I get to watch Harvey do his thing, right, or Martha do her thing, or
you're going to be fathering kids
but
well
I
after your
won't have any of the stress of whether because when they win or lose. Right, when they lose, it's like, oh, and you get to go home.
Exactly.
So that's just been fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to enjoying the kids that God brings along that I get to, in a sense, parent right, but not have the stress of
Yes.
the parenting that goes with it.
So there's about, I don't know what the clock officially says to graduation.
Oh, my goodness.
What are you focusing on with Campbell? Like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I think trying to spend time with him, even though he's got a million things going on, which is fantastic, which is great, right? It's fun to watch him enjoy, right, his senior year, and he's getting some, awards and accolades and things like that for doing life well. And I think that's the one wonderful thing is that doesn't always happen. Right, it doesn't, and I think at a Christian school, people think, "Oh, if you love Jesus, right, then you'll always get a pat on the back." And the answer is no, that's not true, right? I mean, if you look at the life of Jesus, he didn't get a pat on the back; he got hung on a cross. And so, I think one of the things that you have to understand is it doesn't always happen, even at a Christian school. And so, sometimes when it does, you enjoy it, right? And sometimes when other kids get awards and other kids, get things right, you appreciate that and you just say, you know what, that's awesome for them. And so you learn those things. But I think right now, we just had like junior senior banquet, right? And, and it was fun to go see Campbell do that. And Campbell got the same word that Sophie got, which was kind of a big, fun family thing. Yeah, steadfast, which is my word. I do a word of the year, and it's my word like 3 years ago. So steadfast, great word, family word. But it's fun. I mean, graduation will be fun. I'm thinking about graduation because I get to do the names again.
You do.
Yes.
Dan has a big job pronouncing all the names correctly.
Trying to pronounce the first half of the alphabet.
First half.
Right, and then Amber Beckles gets the second half, and so I get to go and enjoy that. But yeah, I think just appreciating, Tricia and I trying to enjoy just being mom and dad, where, from the staff perspective, there's a lot of staff responsibilities at the end of the year that kind of, sixth grade, Trisha's got, Bottle Rocket Day, but that's after graduation.
Yeah.
So her busy time and things like that, we'll be able to enjoy graduation and enjoy Campbell's last kind of things. And then
it's like a wedding. You have to really step back and remember to enjoy it because it goes by so fast.
Because it goes by so fast. It really does. And PCA has gone by, I think, right, in 20 years. It seems like it's kind of gone by pretty quickly.
Yes.
And so I think enjoy it. I will say this. It is one of the interesting things. You build a lot of relationships with other parents in the same grades as your kids. And so because I'm on staff here, I get to build relationships with a lot of different people. But the kids that are in your grade, you just do a lot of things with. And that's one of the things talking to other alumni parents. They miss those relationships because when their last son or daughter graduates, they have no reason really to come back up to PCA. And here's one of the fun things. I do, right? Because I'm on staff. And so when Campbell graduates...
The fun continues.
Right. Well, in August, guess what? I get to go to retreat.
Yes.
Right? With a whole new group of students, right? Campbell won't be there. I get to do different things with a whole new group of parents. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? And I won't be... kind of like, I wish I could go to a game. I wish I could see. It's like, you can. And I'd say this to alumni parents, right, who don't have kids here anymore.
Yes.
It's like, come back up.
Come back
up and go to a game and enjoy it and have fun. The school that we're sitting in is built on the shoulders of so many families, right, that invested into PCA for years. And the cool thing is, and I remember when, the building wasn't even here, the middle school wasn't here, right, a lot of the parents who invested into PCA, their kids never got to enjoy some of the things that we have,
so
right?
True.
And so, my kids got to enjoy some of these things that parents, years and years ago paid for.
Yes.
And I just think it's one of the things for those parents to come back and say, hey, we built this place, right? This is our school, and our kids went here, and it's just such an enjoyment, to have that. And so I have that now, right? A lot of the great things that I see around here, I look at and I go, yeah, these are things that because of my investment into, PCA and into the life of this school, these things are here for the next generation.
So how many years is it total for you?
So I volunteered for 2 years before I came on staff. So this is officially my 20th year on staff.
20th year.
Finishing up my 20th year.
So speaking of investing in the school,
yes,
you have invested greatly. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing content to the families and the staff. We just appreciate you so much. Shout out from the marketing team who planned all of this, and just wanted to say thank you.
You
for
surprised
everything you
me.
do. Surprise.
Yeah, I usually don't get surprised.
Surprise.
So,
Thanks,
thank you,
Dan.
Erin.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Journey. We hope this podcast provides information to help you raise your children, and it would help us tremendously if you would like, subscribe, share, and review this content on your favorite podcast platform. It is our pleasure to provide this information to our community, and we look forward to our next time together on The Journey.